Hi there and welcome to a new video in which we are going to be checking out Godot 4.5 Dev 4. It's been a while, okay, since we got a new Godot update. If we check, the latest update was in 25 April and now we are in 13 May when this was finally released, so something like 3 weeks without any update. Why was this? Because they were in the GodotCon, which ended past week. So of course they were basically dealing with everything that was needed to actually have this Godot conference, okay? And there is in reality some stuff that could be worth mentioning besides the Godot 4.5 Dev 4 version. For example, there's been a new interview. So basically here we have the Somar project, okay? So there's some information about it over here if you want to check it out. It's pretty interesting what they are building over here. It's basically, as you can see, an XR experience whose mission is to raise awareness of the impact of human activities like underwater noise pollution or on marine ecosystems. So basically that's pretty interesting everything that they have been doing, and also because we have seen lots of improvements in the XR of the engine, so pretty interesting. And then we also got live from the GodotCon, we have a web.net prototype. So what they managed to do is to create a prototype running C# on the web, and in reality you can click here to see the prototype, and as you can see it's a Godot game made with C#, okay, that is running on the web. So if we actually give it here a second, we should be able to play this prototype. So here we have it. So in this case we just have like a compiler of C#, so we write this line, or we can do console.write line and write hello world, for instance, and do something like that. And with this button we should compile it, and there we go. Okay, so pretty interesting for those who are interested in deploying your game as a web and use C#. Okay, for those who use GDScript or don't care too much about web games, this is not really something that we care about, but anyway, for some people this could really be a game changer. And now let's start off with Godot 4.5 Dev 4. Also, something else that I do want to mention is the game that they are showcasing over here. You may know this game, which is called Ambidextro, basically, which is made by Alva Majo, which is basically a Spanish YouTube channel, okay? That, as you can see, in reality, he has like thousands of subscribers, so pretty interesting that also his game has been showcased over here. At least it's something that really catches my attention, because we can also all the time see all the progress that has been made, or well, not the progress, but the games that have been created with the Godot engine, which shows the amazing progress that the game is having, because more and more, let's say, professional developers are choosing Godot, okay? So pretty interesting. First of all, we continue to have some improvements in the new game window that we have. So now macOS has support for embedding the window. So previously, if you use either Windows or Linux, you were able to just embed the game window right over there, but in Mac OS you weren't able to do it. So well, something that could also be interesting for those who code using Godot in a Mac. Also, in short, about 3D physics interpolation, this is a topic that has been covered in previous updates, but basically physics interpolation, what this allows us to have is that in lower frame rate, okay, physics will still feel good, and this in general provides better behavior, better performance, and they are still polishing it up a little bit. In short, there is a new architecture behind this 3D physics interpolation, which is just meant to work a little bit better, okay? So once again, some small improvements in all this. Once again, this is not like a, or at least from what I can read and understand here, this is not a huge game changer to physics or anything like that. It is just some general improvements to the 3D physics engine. But once again, remember that we have Jolt, that probably in 4.5 is going to be the default physics engine. So anyway, we'll see what ends up happening. Now this is also pretty interesting as well. Now we can export variables as variants. So previously, when you wanted to export a variable, you had to stipulate its type. So whether it was bool, integer, float, whatever. We're actually gonna see all these things in the editor, or at least this one, for example, that we can indeed see. But now we can, this is gonna support variance values. A variant basically, as you can see over here, is basically mostly any Godot type. So we have lots of types over there, so you can directly put it over there. So well, in some cases this could be useful. Now we also have stackable outlines on labels. So previously you could only have one outline and that would be all. And now as you can see, we have stacked outlines. Let me open up this stacked outlines, and we can have like multiple outlines as well as shadows in this case. And therefore we can have like more complex fonts, let's say. Okay, so pretty interesting. And there are also some changes in the occlusion from the ambient light. Here you can see it with it disabled or disable, also or enabled, sorry. You can once again see some changes in these images. And as usual, there are even more things, okay? But once again, I will focus on the ones that maybe we will be using the most, which I believe, at least for the general Godot user, once again, which is this one and this one. I'm not saying that the others are not important or anything like that. Maybe that they are not maybe super useful for the general Godot user, or maybe this one, if you are using Mac OS, could be interesting as well. This one, it's maybe complicated to see the real advantage in a simple project, okay? So that's why I'm gonna skip it, let's say. And the same thing with this one. I don't think that it's really like something super important, at least from my understanding, okay? But anyway, that is just my opinion and what I can quickly show you over here, okay? So as usual, we just download this version. And well, here we are, okay, 4.5 dev 4. Let me super quickly create a new one. So 4.5 dev 4. We'll just put it over here on my downloads. There we go. And let's press create. Now, what I will also do, okay, this is 4.5 dev 4. I will open up this other version, which is 4.5 dev 3. I believe this one should be, yes, 4.5 dev 3. Let me create a new project over here as well, so that we can compare some stuff. So let me also put it over there. So the first thing that I want to try out is this new variant value type that we can export. So in both, let me just create pretty simple to this scene, and I will attach a new script. And here I am in 4.5 dev 3. Okay, so if I wanted to export a variable, and I will just call it, I don't know, my variant, and I wanted to export it as a variant, cannot use simple export notation because the type of initialized value can't be inferred. So basically we were receiving this. And now in 4.5, once again, let's super quickly add this. Now we have export var my variant and variant, okay? And we shouldn't be having any error. And as you can see now, we do have our variant, and we cannot pick a value directly. We have to go here to this pen and select the type. So let's say that this is a boolean right now, okay? Now this can be a float, okay? Now this can be a vector 2, for example. So well, pretty interesting. Once again, maybe not the best thing would be to declare everything as a variant unless you really need it to do so. I don't really see any practical usage in which you may take advantage of this, because you may think, oh, I declare everything as variants and then here I pick the type manually. But I believe that's not the best thing, because then you look at your code and it doesn't make sense that this is a variant. You're not taking advantage of variants themselves. That once again, I don't really see a practical example of this. There could be, but I don't see it right now. So well, this is just the first thing that we can see, and the other one is about the label. So once again, I'm still in dev 4, which is the current version. So let's add a new user interface and a new label, and just put here hello world, for example. So let's make this thing much bigger, so something like 100. And now let's see this of the constants and colors, okay? So we see a shadow and an outline color. So let's do it first, okay, outline size, okay, and let's make it 10. And here we have the first font outline color, okay? So how exactly are we able to add more outlines, okay? In reality, this is put in the label settings, okay? So this in reality overrides the theme override. So let's just restart all these things, okay, over there. So everything is the same. So in the level settings, once again, let's just go to the font and increase it, okay. And what we do see here is these stacked effects. So we have stacked outlines and shadows. So let's say that first we want, okay, to have this outline, okay, 20 pixels, and let's make it, I don't know, light blue. And let's add a shadow, let's make it 20 pixels, let's increase the opacity, and let's make it red, for example, okay. Now let's offset it a little bit, so something like, I don't know, 5 and 5, for example, and let's lower the alpha a little bit, maybe something like that. So this is what we used to be able to do, but now we can stack these effects, so we can stack more outlines. So the previous outline size was 20, so if we make this 20, as you can see, it kind of overrides the previous outline, I believe. So it doesn't overlap with the previous one, it is just added, okay. So there we have that overlap, and we can even add a third one. So let's add a third one, once again 20 pixels, and this one let's make it green, okay. There we go. And we can also stack shadows, so let's create a second one. Once again, all the offsets I will set them at 5 and the size to be 20, and in this case let's make it green as well, for example, okay. I don't really think that I want to see a difference, so let's firstly make it a different color, so maybe some kind of pink color. And the previous shadow also, it's not that disappear, but we have to offset them even more. So let's make it 40 and 40, so that we can actually see it. Well, maybe a little bit less, 20 and 20. And then this one, if this was 2020, let's make this be 2020 as well. But in reality, I believe that if you're using multiple outlines, because here we have 3 outlines, we have light blue, black, and green. So in reality, what we should do is delete the shadows and outlines from here and directly do it here, because it's not going to be quite chaotic. So let's add here a new one, which is gonna be a white outline, for example. Once again, 20 pixels. Let's move it up if we can. There it is. Let's make it actually red, for example. Okay, so there we can clearly see the 3 outlines. Now here we have this shadow. So let's make the offset 10, 10. And let's make the outline size a little bit bigger. Maybe something like that. Okay. Now, I don't think this can be duplicated or anything. We can copy the values, but we cannot directly copy and paste them, I believe. So, well, it would be good, but anyway, once again, let's make the offset 10, 10, and let's make the size 50. And let's make it, for example, let's see, well, green again, or light blue. And let's offset it a little bit more, so maybe something like that. Okay, well, I believe that you understand what this is. Once again, for creating more complex UIs or stuff like that, it could work. So well, this is all for this new version, and I will see you in the next video.